Hello and welcome to another Magic the Gathering draft video. It's Al here with you, and this is how to draft MTG. We are 2 weeks into Streets of New Capenna Limited, and I have done 2 drafts. Wah wah. Haven't had a lot of time thus far, but I am jumping into the format, and I want to show you how I do that with so little experience in the draft format, getting up to speed, and hopefully winning some games with a reasonable strategy. We're going to get into it right now. As always, please click like and subscribe if you enjoy these videos. It helps the channel a huge amount. We're closing in on 900 subscribers, so I'd really appreciate it if you would click those buttons. As always, thank you very much, and let's get into it. As always, we're going to use our friends at 17Lands to help us get up to speed on what the heck is going on in this format. As well, I have had time to listen to all the great limited podcasts out there. Those are Limited Resources, Lords of Limited, and Limited Level Ups, along with Drafting Archetypes as well, Sam Black's podcast. So do check all those podcasts out. They're amazing. I've had time to check them out while I'm walking the dog or whatever, but I have not had time to really sit down and focus and play drafts. So I would highly recommend checking those podcasts out to keep yourself up to speed. And of course, our folks, 17Lands, 17lands.com. Not a sponsor of this channel or anything like that, but I do use them a lot. I'm going to show you how I use them to figure out what's going on in the format. So we start with the color rankings. So that's by going to analytics. You don't need an account to do this, by the way. Click analytics, click format color ratings. Here we are, Streets of New Capenna Premier Draft from the start of the format till now. And you can actually adjust this date later on in the format if you want to see how things have changed. But of course, pretty early on. So, very little data. So the first thing that I want to point out is that straight two color decks, are winning on average 57.4%. They're winning about 1%, actually exactly 1% better than 2 color decks with a splash. This is a 3-color format, as we've been told by Wizards. And as I mentioned in my sort of format overview, you want to sort of draft a 2-color deck and splash cards of the family that sort of touch those 2 colors. While that is a viable strategy, it's worth noting that if you can be straight 2 colors, that seems to be a better plan. So something to keep in mind there. We also are aware that this is essentially a 5-deck format. And one of the things I said in my predictions video is maybe only a couple of those 5 decks are actually going to be worth drafting, in which case we're going to sort of build our draft strategy around that. So let's have a look here. Blue-white, 60%. And if 57 is the average, I say this every time, but I should say it again. If 57 is the average, then anything below 57, even though it's better than 50-50, is actually performing at a below average rate. And the reason that the average is 57 and not 50-50 is because the players that track their data on 17Lands tend to be above average players. So there you go. If it's better than 57, we like it. Azorius, white-blue, 60%, great. Best deck in the format. Simic, interesting. We're going to come back to that in a second. Selesnya, green-white, 58.3, second best deck in the format. We're going to come back to Simic in a second. So we can see right away that white-blue and green-white are doing super well. And I've listened to the podcast. It's no secret that the Broker's family, green, white, blue, and the 2 color pairs that exist within it are the strongest decks in the format. So, cool. Right off the bat, we're seeing that we want to start white if possible. Why? Because white touches both of these 2 best color pairs. So something like Simic, this is pretty interesting. So an enemy color pair, green-blue, white-black, black-green, blue-red, and red-white. These are all enemy colors. You can see they're doing quite badly. Simic is doing well, probably because it's, it's in 2 of the stronger colors, but also this data is super limited. There's only 193 games that have been tracked. So this deck comes together very, very infrequently as opposed to 13,000 games of blue-white, 13,000 of black-red, 7,500 of green-white. So keep your eye on how much sample size, the size of the sample size, how many games have actually been tracked here. So, 58.5 tells us that green-blue could be good, but that it's going to come together very infrequently, and probably the players that are putting it together are excellent players, and that's why it's doing well. So you really want to be sort of paying attention to the decks that have large numbers of drafts under their belts. Okay, cool. So we know we want to start in white and try to pivot between white, blue, and white, green. All right. But what if most people already know this and white's going to be super contested? White, blue, and white, green are going to be super contested. Then what are we going to do next? Well, that's sort of what we're going to try to find out going forward. So already, just by looking at this color breakdown, we have a pretty solid strategy of what we're going to try and do in the draft. And it is early enough in the format that that's probably good enough to go on. Not everybody's figured out every little nook and cranny of the format yet. We're a week and a half, 2 weeks in. It's not a huge deal. Okay, so look at our 2-color and splash. Blue-white again at the top. So that means blue-white splashing either green or black, most likely, since those are the adjoining families. Rakdos not doing so well. Gruul not doing so well. So that tells me we kind of want to stay away from red since it touches both of those. Dimir doing okay as it was up in the 2 colors as well. So maybe that means that blue-black is a good place to go if we start white-blue and blue. If we start white-blue, and white is contested, we can pivot into blue-black, maybe splashing some white cards or something like that. Okay, so basic overview of what the colors are doing. You could dive deeper into this if you wanted to, but yeah, long and short of it is white seems to be the place to be. Blue-white and green-white also, sort of being the 2 top decks, and then their splashes being great, and the red-based decks doing the most poorly. So there you go. And you can check out straight 3-color decks you can see are doing quite a bit worse. So really don't want to be straight 3-color where possible. Want to splash if and only if those cards are excellent and worth splashing, and actually really just want to be a straight 2-color deck if at all possible. Okay, so now we can dig a little bit deeper. Click on Analytics, go to Card Ratings. I'm going to oversimplify this a little bit because this is a quick YouTube video and not a super in-depth guide. But we're going to just look at the game in hand win rate of different cards in the format. Let's see if I can zoom a little bit. There we go. That'll make things easier to see. Okay, so we had an inkling that white was the best color. Let's see if that bears out here. We're going to search just by the commons to start with, since those are the cards that you most commonly see. We ranked by game in hand win rate. You can see Inspiring Overseer, which we knew was bonkers from the set review. Everybody saw this and said this was crazy. 63% win rate, huge. That's 5% better than average. If we looked at that 57 win rate of the 2-color decks. Rafine's Informant doing quite well as well. This is a 2-drop, which there are few of in the set. There's a lot of 3s in this set, so having a good 2, one that can draw you into your next land or put something in your graveyard and get bigger, this is a big deal. Jewel Thief, obviously one of the best commons in the set. 3-mana 3/3 makes treasure, Vigilance, Trample. So these are all monster cards, and we kind of already knew that, but let's see. White card, green, blue. Make disappear. Interesting. This counterspell is doing really well. Okay, so this is just something I can look at and sort of say, okay, well, again, it's important to have something to do on turn 2. This isn't a good color. Blue being quite nice with white, of course, in this format, as we're seeing. Gathering Throng's really good. Okay, great, good to know. So we can speculate on this if we see it late in pack 1. Try to get a bunch of them. Broker's Hideout, of course, if Broker's is the best. Blue, white, gold card. Run Out of Town. This is probably an underrated one. Here's another trick you can do. Click Scene. Get your average last seen at. Run Out of Town comes around 6th pick on average. Make Disappear comes around 7th pick on average. So these are cards we could potentially wheel in our drafts and get some extra value there. So pretty nice little stat to check out. Civil Servant, Echo Inspector. So just a bunch of white, blue, and green cards in the top. Okay, so again, confirming that we want to start white where possible, move into white, blue, or white, green where possible. So then we could dig a little bit deeper and say, okay, well, how about in, the white, blue deck? What are the best cards? Well, no surprise, it's going to be sort of the same ones again. But interesting to see that Girder Goons is up here as a black card at 62%. Not a ton of games logged for this one, but it's a good splash. So okay, so if we're blue-white and we see a couple Girder Goons, we can try to splash that. All right. So I'm starting to build a picture in my head of what these decks are going to kind of look like. Well, they're going to want to play a lot of good 2-drops. They're going to want to play Rafine's Informant. They're going to want to play Make Disappear. They're going to want to play Inspiring Overseer, of course, and Celestial Regulator. So I'm seeing a low curve kind of tempo, aggro, flyers deck. And if we're splashing, we want to be splashing Girder Goons. The next best splash is Jewel Thief, which is not a great splash card. 3 mana, 3/3 is not excellent as a splash, and the treasure token it makes doesn't really matter if you're splashing it. So cool. Anything else worth noting here? Probably not a ton of stuff, but you could drill even deeper and sort of say, okay, what are we trying to do? Now, the interesting thing about Inspiring Overseer as well is that this is a single white pip card, and I think that this would be a great splash. So if we start white by first picking one of these and we get pushed out of it, then again, we can lean into blue-black instead and splash the Overseers. This is a fine card on the splash, I would think. Okay, so let's have a quick look at white-green, since that was the other best deck in the format. Again, Overseer and Jewel Thief are just busted. Throng's really good here. That makes sense. This green-white is all about sort of building up a big board presence. Civil Servant is a strong card. So the reasons that we would want to be green and not blue then are mostly just Civil Servant and Jewel Thief. And I suppose, some of these cards are Warm Welcome and Prize Fight are there, but they're not winning at the same clip as these top cards. So again, just that core of really strong white cards mixed with some of the best that green has to offer. Also, kind of cool to check out where the removal ranks. We didn't do that in blue, but as we can see, the best cards are the creatures, right? Inspiring Overseer, Jewel Thief. Mana Fixing, as we know, is really important. Gathering Throng, Servant, Rafine's Informant, Strong Arm as a blitz creature that can get people. So this is an aggro deck. We can sort of, again, form a picture of what this is starting to look like. Maybe it's splashing red some of the time, although I haven't seen an actual red card yet. And then, way down the line here, not that it's doing badly, 58% is pretty good, but then we see Prize Fight, then we see Hold for Ransom. So these cards are not as high priorities as some of these creatures, and maybe this is obvious to some people who are watching, but I think a lot of folks out there are taking removal with their first picks, and I would recommend against doing that, and the data does bear that out. Okay, so I keep repeating myself, but we're trying to start white, we're trying to be white-blue, trying to be white-green. What if that doesn't work out? Well, if we get pushed in the green direction of this white, green, blue little sort of triangle we're trying to build here, then that means we have to play red-green. And contrary to my hope that red-green treasure was going to be really good, or hope, I don't know, prediction, it looks like it's not that good. So Strangle, and I'm looking at the red-green deck in particular, Strangle is sort of the best thing you can be doing, or Rakish Revelers, and these are winning at a pretty low clip. Again, 57% is our benchmark. So we really don't want to get pushed in that direction. If we're going to get pushed out of a white-based deck, we want to go the other direction on the color wheel, and we want to go towards blue-black. So let's see what blue-black is doing. So hilariously, Inspiring Overseer is the best card in the deck, and as I sort of posited earlier, we can splash this card, right? It's single pipped. It's still going to be really good at any point in the game, and it's winning a at a monster clip here, 67.9% in this deck. Not as many games logged, but you can see why it would be good, and I believe it. Gerda is looking to be our best black common. It's showed up as a really great splash in white blue, and it's showing up as the best card in blue black, so we'll keep that in mind. Mana Fixing, Snooping Newsy, so these 2-color gold cards are super important. So if we can't get our hands on Celestial Regulator or Civil Servants, but we see Snooping Newsies coming around, then maybe it's time to draft blue-black, hopefully splashing white. Murder, Corrupt Court Official. And here's an interesting one, is Fake Your Own Death. I enjoyed playing with this one in my previous draft video. So, again, just sort of trying to paint a picture of what this deck is trying to do. It looks a little bit more controlling, looks a little grindier, but still important to get these early plays down. Snooping Newsy, Inspiring Overseer, Corrupt Court Official, and then sort of leveraging those, assuming in a casualty sense, probably, although we haven't seen any casualty cards yet. Make Disappear is really important. Rooftop Nuisance seems pretty important. So it looks like this deck is sort of trying to grind. It might be a little bit more uncommon based. I know there's the Syndicate Infiltrator, so we'll sort of check that out in a little bit. So this is a place that we can pivot to. And then if white is really contested, then we can sort of go in the blue-black splashing red direction, I suppose, although not really much to see here in terms of like a red splash. Really no red cards here. So, yeah, so it doesn't really look like a red splash is really warranted. But, if we had to continue to get pushed in that direction, we can go into black-red. Let's see what black-red's doing. Again, Gerda, so we know Gerda is the best black common. This is becoming pretty obvious here. And actually, these win rates are not horrendous, but Gerda, Strangle, Murder, Body Dropper, Mayhem Patrol. So this deck wants to get out early with 2-drops, attack, pressure, grow the Body Dropper on the back of Blitz and not on the back of Casualty. And top your curve with Gerda and just beat people down. So again, that makes sense to me. We can take a quick look at the uncommon rankings as well. And we can see the best uncommon is Disciplined Duelist. This is the 2/1 double strike that comes with a shield counter. Makes sense. It's in the best color combination. This would be a reason to splash that third color, be it green-white splashing blue or white-blue splashing green. Corpse Appraiser is doing really well as well. Not 100% sure what this does. Actually, 3-mana, 3/3 exile a creature from the graveyard. And then look at the top 3 and put a card in your hand. Okay, great. So just super great value engine. If you're blue-black, you can splash it off red. So that'd be a reason to splash red in the blue-black deck. Psychic Pickpocket is just a great blue creature. We kind of knew that already. Mage's Attendant, solid rate. Sleep with the Fishes is just really good removal. Lagrell the Magpie is another really strong reason to splash for the Bant colors. And then Nightclubber is a really strong card, but being double black kind of pushes us into this territory of needing to be, I guess, like black-red aggro more than anything. I don't know how much we would want this in a blue-black deck. We would play it there, but this, to me, based on what I'm sort of seeing from the data, doesn't look like a great first pick option, although it is really powerful when you get people with it. Exotic Pets, out of the way. This all makes sense. These are all just really, really good white and blue cards. Fairy Vandal, not a card I would necessarily have pegged as being really good. We see it with a 60% win rate. So when we see it in the pack, we can be like, all right, maybe we should take another look at this. So anytime you see a card like that with a really high win rate that you didn't necessarily peg as being really good, great reason to take another look at it. Similarly, Luxurious Libation. This is not a card I was really on my radar, but apparently it's winning at a 59% clip. So makes a 1/1 and wins a combat for you. And the podcasts have been saying that, combat tricks are really good. So great. We, sort of keep that in mind. And then you can extrapolate on that too, right? If combat tricks are really good, then that must mean that decks are trying to attack each other and pressure each other. So a good curve is good. So you want a lot of 2s and 3s, and it's not the slow format that we may have thought, where you're taking turn 2 off to play your family fixer creature and play 4 colors and do all kinds of crazy stuff. Excuse me. It's not that It's not that kind of a game. So, there you go. Okay, Wing Shield Agent doing really well. Quasar doing really well. So this is a reason to splash black. So we're sort of seeing that the blue-black deck really wants some of these uncommons to have a reason to sort of really go in that direction. But we can certainly do that if we're seeing those and we're getting pushed out of white. Lots of good uncommons in the set, by the way. Apparently Knockout Blow is good. Who knew? 4 damage to target attacking or blocking creature and you gain 2 life is, yeah, I guess that's pretty decent. And then we're starting to get into some more average-ish win rates, but still, some of these cards are really good. Okay, so that sort of paints a picture very quickly, just sort of rambling through this. That paints a picture for me of what colors we're trying to be in and what decks we're trying to build during the draft and what those might look like. I know I went really fast. If you have any questions, you can definitely leave them in the comments below. I'd really appreciate that. TLDR or TL didn't watch. Draft white. Try to be blue-white. Try to be green-white. Try not to be 3 colors. If you're going to be 3 colors, splash like 1 or 2 3-color cards, not a ton of them. And try not to draft red. That's sort of the what's currently going on in the format. And that's not to say that red is never going to be good, and certainly there was going to be a time where if we can figure out how to make red good and everybody else is on the bad colors, white, blue, and green, then we're going to be able to have an advantage for that time period when white, blue, and green are super contested and red's super open. But I think for right now, I'm going to be entering the format trying to draft white, blue, white, green. If not, move to blue, black. If not, move to black, red. That's sort of the loose sort of draft order of the set. And I guess finally we could just take a quick look at the rares and the mythics and just see what's absolutely busted. Some of the best cards in the set: Hostile Takeover, Broker's Ascendancy, not surprising. Maestro's Diabolist, not surprising. Workshop War Chief, not surprising, right? So some of these are just really, really good. Although Workshop War Chief is maybe worse than the Inspiring Overseer in terms of mythics. Sanctuary Warden, All-Seeing Arbiter, Titan of Industry. And that might be it. Rafine, I guess, as well. But that's a 3-color card. Tough to... Elspeth is a monocolored card, so I could see starting with that. But anyhow. Okay, so there you go. Ramble over. Please leave a comment if you have any questions. Click like, click subscribe. I appreciate it. And stay tuned for more draft content. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.